Welcome to Align Christ-Centered Yoga. My name is Linda, and I'll be guiding you through your practice today. A phrase popped up into my mind a couple of days ago. I've been thinking about it a lot, mountain of God. And I don't know why it came to mind, and I didn't really know very much about the mountain of God. So I went to the word and started going down rabbit trails. So the first time the mountain of God is referred to, it is Mount Horeb, and it is a physical mountain, and it is the mountain that Moses went to meet with God. And at the top of the mountain, he received the 10 Commandments, and there was fire and lightning, and people heard thunder, and all of the glory of God was present there with Moses. The final time the Bible mentions the mountain of God, it's in heaven. It's this spiritual realm, right? And it's where God resides, and it's where his people worship him. And so from Revelations 14, we have this. Then I looked, from John the author. Then I looked, and behold, on Mount Zion stood the Lamb, and with him 144,000 who had his name and his Father's name written on their foreheads. And I heard a voice from heaven like the roar of many waters, and like the sound of loud thunder. And the voice I heard was like the sound of harpists playing on their harps. And they were singing a new song before the throne, and before the 4 living creatures, and before the elders. And so we have this image of worship, this image of complete unity in the presence of God. And by the power of the Holy Spirit living within us, even on earth, we get glimpses of that. So how do we get to the mountain of God? How do we reach those pinnacles, those moments of glory? Go ahead and take a couple of deep breaths. And as we just think about this today, and as we move forward in our practice, I'm going to read you a poem. It's from All Along You Were Blooming, and the author is Harper Nichols. And as you start to ascend, you feel the force of heavy winds. And for the first time, you wonder if you should give up, turn around, and go back down the mountain and find a smaller hill to climb. This is a broken place, and you are treading on splintered ground, trying to make sense of your progress and where you thought you'd be by now. And what was familiar is now too distant. And what was unknown is now too close. And you are wondering what to keep and what to just let go. But now that you're here, let it be. Slow down and let it be. Find new rhythms in the silence to cling to lasting peace. Knowing well within your soul, you will have the strength you need to make it through these unknowns. As we continue with our practice today, we'll focus on breath. We'll build our mountain pose. We'll work a little bit on release of the neck and the shoulders. And I invite you to think about where you are on your journey in this moment. How far up that mountain are you? And what is it that stands between you and Jesus? If you haven't already, come to a seated position, and I would invite you to elevate your hips up just a bit today, crossing your legs comfortably in front of you. Begin to find your sitting bones, maybe moving the flesh of the glutes away from those bones. Sitting heavy on both the right and the left side. Shrug the shoulders all the way up to your ears and let them drop. And do that twice more. Begin to find a deep breath. And breathe fully into the lungs, the rib cage, and the diaphragm muscle. And as you exhale, draw the belly in and soften the rib cage and empty the lungs. And continue here, breathing in and breathing out. And notice the position of your hands. And I would invite you to consider cupping your hands one on top of the other, keeping the palms open to whatever it is the Holy Spirit has for you in your practice today. Begin to check in physically, just noticing where you're a little bit tight, where you might need a little bit of release. Give yourself permission to accept your body, your mindset. Wherever you are today, it's okay. And give yourself permission to modify the practice to meet your needs as you move through it. Let the hands rest lightly on the legs, tucking your chin. Begin to gently draw that right ear towards the right shoulder, chin forward, left ear to left shoulder. Back and forth here a few times. Noticing all of the sensations up and down the neck. Can you feel this in the front and the back of the body as well? Can you connect movement to breath? Can you lead with breath? As that right ear comes to the right shoulder, leave it there. Let the shoulders grow heavy. Begin to draw number 8 with your nose. And just explore what's going on in the neck today. And settle in, breathing out. And then slowly bring the chin forward and leave your head here, hanging heavy, feeling the weight of the head. Release the neck, feeling the shoulders glide down the side, maybe finding stretch all the way down into the upper back. And then gently bring that left ear to the left shoulder. Again, just draw that figure 8 with your nose, back and forth here. And settle in. And notice, are the sensations the same on this side or are they different? As you're ready, gently let the head rise. Begin to connect movement with breath. So as you inhale, let the arms rise up, palms together at the top. And as you exhale, let the hands come down. Start that movement with the inhale and the exhale. And as breath guides you, can the arms float, pushing up with the strong muscles of the core, drawing down. And the next time those arms rise, let the gaze come up. And as the hands come down, tuck your chin. And back and forth here 2 more times. On that next inhale, bring the arms up, interlace the fingers, palms to the sky. Reach as high as you can. And as you exhale, take those hands behind you and find a gentle seated cow. And on that next exhale, bring those arms in the front and find seated cat. And inhale, arms come back, find cow. And exhale, find cat. And back and forth here. Two more times. Two more breaths. As you're ready, cross the hands, one hand over the other, palms facing together, thumbs down. Begin to find that seated cat. Gently draw the right shoulder forward and lift it up and look underneath and find that stretch across the back. And release, and keeping those hands together, bring them all the way up and overhead, and exhale and unwind the arms and meet me in cow. And stay here for 2 breaths. And then that next inhale, arms rise up. And as you come into that cat, go ahead and cross the opposite arm on the top. Gently draw the left shoulder forward, lifting it up. Look underneath. And find breath. As you're ready, release. Bring the arms all the way up and overhead. One final time in cow. 2 breaths here. And as you're ready, bring hands to heart. So we're going to play a little bit with breath here. And what we're going to do is we're going to find a fire breath, a breath that begins to create energy. Because as we think about this spiritual journey, this climb, it is never easy. So go ahead and take your hand and bring your thumb across your palm and wrap your fingers around your thumb. And bring your thumb right underneath your navel, your other hand right on top of it very lightly. What we're going to do is take a deep breath in through the nose. I'll demonstrate if you're not familiar with Kalabata breathing. Nice deep breath in. And as you exhale from the nose, short, sharp breaths, and you'll feel the belly move. So we'll do 20. And then we'll take a deep breath in and a deep breath out. So following me, find your inhale. Short, sharp breaths. Ten, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Deep breath in. Exhale out. Two more cycles. Take a deep breath in. And exhale, short, sharp breaths. Deep breath in. Deep breath out. One more time, breathing in. Short, sharp breaths. Deep breath in. Deep breath out. Let the hands rest lightly on the legs, closing the eyes. Take 3 full breaths and just notice the sensations in the body. Notice your energy level. And as you're ready, come up and off the prop and bring any props that you have towards the front edge of the mat and meet me in table. So finding table, Go ahead and spread your fingers wide and bring your fingers to the mat at the base of the first finger, pinky finger, and each side of the wrist. And then just lightly tap the fingertips in. Go ahead and smack through the tops of your feet. Press into the tops of your feet. So fingertips are reaching forward, toes are reaching back, eyes of the elbows are rotated in towards each other. Shoulder blades are wide. Begin to find the strength here because the strength of mountain pose comes from the core. So imagine the pelvic bones, those pointed bones at the hips, imagine them drawing back as the tailbone draws in. The navel drawing in and towards the rib cage. Maybe a slight tuck of the chin so you can find the strength at the base of the throat. And from here, exhale into cat. And inhale into cow. And back and forth here 3 more times on your own. Find your own pace with your breath. Exhaling into child, inhaling into cow. As you're ready, meet me back in table. Take your hands one handprint forward and come forward into a kneeling plank. So again, really finding the strength of the core muscles here, engaging through that abdominal wall, finding a straight line from knees to shoulders. And then as you exhale, just draw the elbows up to the sky, come all the way down to the mat. Forearms to the side, fingers spread wide. Come in and out of Sphinx pose. As you come up into Sphinx, begin to find the strength in this. Now beginning to work through the muscles of the back, engaging the muscles of the legs. Go ahead and tighten up those quadricep muscles. Press down with the feet and the forearms. And exhale and release. Hands come to the rib cage, come through table to child. And begin to find a flow here. Inhaling into that kneeling plank, exhaling to the mat. Inhaling to Sphinx. Exhaling to child. And twice more on your own. Kneeling plank to the mat. Sphinx to child. Move with your breath. Take your time. As you come back into that child, stay in child. And breathe into your child's pose, maybe massaging out the forehead. And then raise the wrists. So fingertips are raising towards the sky, wrists are high. And walk the fingers a little bit forward and draw the hips a little bit back. And how much length can you find? And just gently walk those hands over to the right. And the wrists stay high and the hips come out to that left side. And look underneath that left arm. And maybe you gently bring the hips back to center. So just find the side stretch, the stretch in the arm that's best for you. Can your head hang heavy? And as you're ready, cross over and go to the other side. And same thing, you're just going to reach over to the left and the hips are going to draw to the right, looking underneath that arm. And just gently bringing the hips back to center. How much length can you find on this side? Where do you feel the stretch? As you're ready, release, come back to center. Go ahead and hop your hands, one hand print forward, lift the hips, and then gently come back from here, wrists still reaching to the sky. And let the head come down, but maybe the head doesn't touch now, and that's okay. And take 2 breaths here. And wherever you're feeling that stretch, just imagine that there's a balloon in there and you're just slightly inflating it, creating a little space. And then letting it release. And as you're ready, palms to the floor, forearms to the floor. Find child's pose for 2 breaths. On that next inhale, meet me in table. Again, engaging the abdominals, find a strong table. Curl the toes underneath. And as you exhale, draw the hips up, knees still deeply bent, rib cage touching thighs. Let the head come down and shake it out. No. And yes. And consider turning your first finger, your pointer finger, slightly towards the corner of the mat. And begin to pedal through your feet. And just move wherever the body takes you. No rules here. Just exploring, understanding what's a little tight today, what you really want to release and stretch and strengthen. On the next inhale, heels rise. And then breathing out, softly let the heels come down towards the mat. Breathing in, come forward into plank. Find a strong plank. And begin to think about mountain pose. So your feet are flexed and your heels are pressing towards that wall behind you and the crown of the head is reaching forward. Just like mountain pose. And maybe you need to bend your knees as you come down, or maybe you can come all the way to the mat slowly and you can keep that mountain pose. And tops of the feet to the mat, keep the hands at the rib cage or go to Sphinx. Rise into that back bend. Come through child. And meet me in downward facing dog. On the next inhale, raise the right leg up to the sky. And drawing the gaze forward, bring the foot all the way forward between the hands. If it doesn't get there, you can just pick it up and move it. And if you have props, and I would love for you to have something to elevate the hands, go ahead and just drop that back knee down and up. And begin to notice how much weight is in your hands. And maybe as you engage the abdominals, those hands can float. And as you're ready, just gently let that knee come down to the mat and open up the heart and reach all the way up. And exhale and hands down to the mat or the blocks and gently draw the front leg back, hamstring stretch. So come forward, find the stretch in the hip of that back leg. Rise up, find back bend. Exhale, hamstring stretch. One more time. And stay in your hamstring stretch. And notice if that back hip is starting to roll out to the side, and maybe you can bring it more towards the center. Maybe the head can relax and release. And find your breath. And find a stretch that provides tension but not struggle. No shaking, no pain. Back off of it if you've gone too far. On that next inhale, bring the knee over the ankle, raise that back leg up, move the blocks out of the way. Hands to the mat, begin to float that front foot, bring the heel towards your hip, and then come back into a strong plank. From plank again, maybe coming all the way down to the mat. Tops of the feet to the mat, finding your cobra. Come back and meet me in child. And work your way into downward facing dog. Check in for 2 breaths, just noticing the way the body has settled, any shifts or changes. On the next inhale, the left leg rises high. Use those abdominals to bring the foot through the hands. And again, if it gets stuck, you just pick it up and move it. And maybe you have blocks. You can just let that knee in the back come down and up. So as you're ready, let that back knee come down. Stay there, come all the way up. And then exhale, hands back to the blocks, straightening out that front leg just to where you feel the hamstring stretch. And again, moving forward. And exhaling back. And one more time like this. And hold the hamstring stretch. And again, just noticing, I always have this tendency to begin to let that hip draw out, imagining that your hips are between 2 walls and you're just in this narrow corridor. And breathe. And notice why you stopped here. And again, maybe you just imagine a small balloon in that tight place. And you can inflate it just a little bit, create a little space. And release. And as you're ready, lunge forward and raise that back leg up. And move the blocks out of the way. And float the front leg up and bring the heel to the hip and just hover. And come back into plank. And stay in plank this time for 2 breaths. And find your mountain pose. And slowly come all the way to the mat. Tops of the feet to the mat, find your back bend. Come back to child's pose, finding as much length as you can from fingertips to hips. And meet me in downward facing dog. On the next inhale, let the right leg rise high. Gaze comes forward, foot comes all the way through the hands, rise up into lunge. So hands to hips, begin to find your lunge. Maybe that front thigh sinks a little more. Maybe that back thigh lifts up. Hands to the front of the thigh, gently move the muscles towards the knee as the shoulders come back. Again, can you find this strength in the pelvic floor, the abdominals, maybe the base of the throat? Arms rise high. Exhale, right hand to the small of your back, left arm across, find a twist. Breathe in and out of your twist. And as you're ready, release. Bring your hands together all the way down, all the way up in prayer. And then bring that left elbow to the sky. Left hand coming back. Take that right arm all the way around. The palm faces out and then comes up. Find your tricep stretch here. Maybe add a back bend to it if that feels right. And as you're ready, exhale, unwind. Bring one hand to either side of the front foot. This time, float up the hips and bring that back foot forward. Go ahead and drop the hips, rib cage to thighs. Let the head come down. Holding onto your forearms, keeping the legs deeply bent, begin to gently release the back, moving the upper body side to side. Settling at center, bring the hands forward, and if it works for you, lift your heels, dropping hips to heels. And bring your fingers back to the base of your big toes. Press the feet in, the hips will rise, leave them there and rise up into chair pose. As we begin to anchor into chair, take your hands to your hips and gently just draw the glutes down towards the mat. Again, engaging the abdominals, softening the rib cage, arms up. Breathe. And as you're ready, rise up. And exhale and forward fold. And notice where your forward fold goes. And maybe those legs are still bent. This is the first full forward fold you've done in this practice. Hands to shins, come up halfway. Exhale down, find your plank. And this time maybe you go into chaturanga, or maybe you've dropped down to your knees, but come to just within an inch of the floor. And then find that back bend and meet me in downward facing dog. And check in right side and left side, and maybe you lift the heels and lower them back down again. And just notice. And as you're ready, the left leg will lift to the sky. And the gaze will come forward and the foot will come all the way through, and you'll rise up into lunge. And begin to find your lunge. Again, just sinking into that front thigh, that back leg lifting up. Go ahead and take your hands to the front leg. Draw the muscles of the quadriceps towards the knees, shoulders back. Hand to the small of the back. Go ahead and find your twist. Actually, take a deep breath in first. Go as tall as you can. And then find that twist. Again, just noticing. Does the twist feel different on this side than it did? As you're ready, release. Arms rise high. Go ahead and bring that right elbow to the sky. Find the tricep stretch. Left arm comes all the way back, and we've stayed in this lunge for quite a while. So maybe you're starting to feel the muscles really working, right? Maybe you find a back bend. Just gaining strength for the journey. And as you're ready, cartwheel your hands one over the other. Back foot floats up to the front. Go ahead and bring the hands forward, lift the heels. Hands come back behind the little toes as the feet go flat to the mat. Hips rise, rise up into chair pose. And stay here in chair, 2 full breaths. Again, finding the strength in the pose, in the front of the shins, the tops of the thighs, the back and the abdominals. And rise high into mountain. And for just a moment, close your eyes and notice what your mountain feels like. And if you have balance issues, you can keep those eyes open. You can also reach for a wall or a chair. And exhale and let everything shake out. So let's work a little bit on building our mountain here. So for just a moment, let's find hip width apart with your feet. So take your heel to your instep and pivot on the base of your big toe. Feet will be approximately hip width apart here. As best you can, feet are parallel as those hips face forward, knees are underneath hips, ankles underneath knees, right? And begin to gently just rock your weight right to left and left to right. And begin to rock your weight forward and back, heels and the ball of your foot. You're not really lifting your legs, right? You're not lifting your feet, you're just shifting the weight. Begin to take the foot to the outside and then the weight to the inside of the foot. So back and forth here. And notice what you're doing with your hands. Here I am helping my feet out with my hands, right? Sometimes we do that. Go ahead and lift one foot up and then the other. Press in at the base of the big toe, the little toe, and the heel. And then lift your toes. Again, draw the hip points in, the tailbone in, navel in and up, softening the rib cage. From here, reach the fingers towards the mat and imagine that you have fire shooting out of your fingertips, lasers reaching to the mat. And then take the arms halfway up, capital T, stay here, bring the arms all the way up, shrug the ears to your shoulders, and then let the shoulders come down. Bring the arms out a little bit into a Y. Let the toes come down to the mat. Mountain pose. And if you have the balance, close your eyes and stay here for 2 breaths. And notice how this pose may feel different from that first mountain pose. As you're ready, bring the hands together in prayer down the center of the body. Come all the way down into forward fold. Hands to shins, rise up halfway. Exhale down, 1 foot back and then the other, find your plank. And from plank, however you choose to, come down to the mat. Maybe now it is chaturanga or upward facing dog. And meet me back in downward facing dog. And how much length can you find from fingertips to hips? How much length can you find from hips to heels? 2 full breaths here. On the next inhale, take that right leg up to the sky, draw the gaze forward, bring the foot all the way through. Bring that back foot to warrior 1, angled slightly towards the outside edge of the mat. Knees over the shin in the front, rise up. Hands to hips. Begin to notice, are the hips even? I notice, that my left hip is a little bit behind my right. Can you bring the hips to facing forward? A little extra weight in the outside edge of that back foot. Arms rise, strong warrior pose. As you make your way up that mountain, what battles is the Lord fighting for you right now? As you're ready, straighten out that front leg. Bring that left arm all the way forward as you hinge at the hips, bending that front leg, and then come back up again. So just looking for length and release in the spine here. Moving with breath. 2 more times. Go ahead and bend that front leg. Bring both arms up and then take the hands behind you, interlacing the fingers or just pressing into the small of your back. So if it works to interlace the fingers, those arms are wide. Begin to find a back bend here. And then draw the belly in and come forward into humble warrior. So the hips are centered, the head at the inside of that leg. Imagine that your inner thighs are moving towards the center of the mat and up towards the center of the body. Can the back of the head reach towards the mat? One more breath here. As you're ready to engage through the abdominals, let those arms come all the way down, unwind and rise back up. Just go into whatever back bend feels right for you. And hands to heart. Step into the front leg and bring the back foot up to meet the front. Taking a deep breath in, find mountain, and then bring the hands down to your side and come into chair from here. As you anchor into chair, find the strength of it. Imagine yourself at the foot of the throne of God. What are you feeling? As you're ready, hands to heart, come all the way down, all the way up into mountain. Exhale, full forward fold. Stay in forward fold for a breath. Hands to shins, rise up halfway. Exhale down, one leg back, and then the other strong plank. Stay here. And reconnect to mountain. And then come down however you choose to come down. Find your back bend. And meet me in downward facing dog. Notice the right side of the body and the left side. Does one side feel longer? Does one side feel lighter? Maybe yes, maybe no. On the next inhale, the left leg rises high. Gaze comes forward, foot comes all the way through. Back foot angles towards the outside edge of the mat. Rise up into your warrior. And exhale, hands to hips. So again, are the hips facing to the front of the mat? Are the shoulders over the hips? Is there a little extra weight in the outside edge of that back foot touching the outside edge of the mat? Straightening out the front leg, bring the left hand to the center of the thigh. Exhale and come forward. How long can you go before you fold over? And inhale back up. And 3 more times. And this last time, rise up and lunge that front leg forward again. And notice, how does your warrior feel? And hands come behind the back, and if you're interlacing your fingers, maybe you interlace them the awkward way this time. Arms reach wide, and keep the abdominals engaged as those arms rise and you begin to find your back bend. And then as you're ready, slowly fold the body over, let the head drop down, arms rise to the sky. And find your breath. And notice the difference if the abdominals are engaged versus just kind of dumping your weight into your thigh. And can you keep strength even here in Humble Warrior? And as you're ready, unlace the fingers and bring them all the way down, all the way up. Hands to heart. And step the back foot up to meet the front foot, mountain pose. And stay right here in mountain, closing your eyes, checking in for a couple of breaths. And release and shake out the hands. So if you have a block, go ahead and place that block right in front of your foot. Hope my head doesn't go off the screen here, it might. So we're going to step up onto this block. So take that right foot onto the block. Okay. And for just a moment, play with it, like really find balance. And if you need a chair next to you or a wall, go ahead and do that. And then just balance on one foot. And bring the arms out and make them strong. And engage through the abdominals. And begin to gently circle that other leg. And can you find a focal point in front of you and stay on that? And maybe you circle your leg the other direction. Maybe you do a figure 8 with that leg. And can you figure 8 the other direction? Think about that one. And then as you're ready, again, just kind of let that leg shake and bring the foot down. And move the block out of the way and come into mountain. Hands to heart. And check in. How are your feet connected to the mat? What is the connection from ankle to knee on each side? From knee to hip, or hip to shoulder, shoulder to ear. And release and shake it all out. We're going to do the same thing on the other side. So that block is now underneath my left foot. Foot is fully on the block. So before you go all the way, just shift it a couple of times and make sure you're steady. Find your center of gravity. Find your focal point. Make the arms strong. Maybe you're lifting up and out of the hips so that you're not sinking into it. And that other leg begins to circle. And maybe it circles the other direction. Are you still breathing? Find your breath. Make a figure 8 with that leg. And then try to reverse that figure 8. And just gently swing it and shake it out and come down. And move the block out of the way, and both feet in mountain pose, hands to heart. Check in. What's going on in the body right now? Can you find a long, slow, deep breath all the way down, all the way up? What happens if you press your feet into the floor just a little bit more? Draw the crown of the head up a little bit. Maybe the eyes are still closed. Maybe you've opened them. Bring the arms up and find mountain pose. How does this mountain pose feel? Maybe you find a bit of a back bend. And can you find an attitude of worship here? And one more inhale. And exhale and forward fold. Move the blocks out of the way. Begin to notice where forward fold is, dropping knees, lifting knees, back and forth here. Engaging through the abdominals. Maybe you find a little more length in the spine as the back of the head comes towards the mat. And hands to shins, rise up halfway. And exhale down, and one leg back and then the other, and find your plank. And from plank, find your flow down to the mat, or maybe you just go directly into child or downward facing dog. Meet me in child or downward facing dog. We're going to stay here for 5 full breaths. Just noticing the effects of the practice. How does the pose shift with breath? The next inhale, come forward into plank. Stay in plank. Bring that right hand to the center of the mat. Go ahead and come up into a full side plank, and your options are to bring that top foot forward, right? Or slightly behind. Just begin to find that mountain pose here. Again, feet flexed. Nice and strong. One more breath. And exhale and release. And maybe one push-up down and up. And bring that left hand to the center of the mat. And flex your feet and find your mountain here. And breathe in and breathe out. One more full breath. As you're ready, release. Hands underneath the shoulders, one push-up. And then one more time, just slowly as you can, down to the mat. All the way down to the mat. And tops of the feet to the mat, draw back to child. And up to table. And back to child. And stay here. Begin to let the body soften, maybe taking the knees out a little bit wider, maybe drawing them in together a little more. Let the forehead come to the mat. And just notice what's going on in your body, in your mind. And perhaps turning your palms up, finding a pose of surrender here. Trusting with the Holy Spirit as your guide that your footing will be secure. As you're ready, place your palms back down. Bring the palms in, come up to a seated position. And bring the feet out wide on your mat. Go ahead and begin to gently dip the knees side to side, just massaging out the glutes. And as you're ready, come over to your right side. Begin to explore the entire muscle group there. And notice where there are knots and where it feels tight. And come up to that tight space and come beside it and massage it out. And as you're ready, go the other direction. And again, just roll all the way over. Explore the entire muscle, high and low, far and wide. And then find that place that's tightest, come up beside it and massage it out. And gently just bring the legs back and forth here. And come to center, hands underneath the legs, and come down onto your back. So let's start by drawing the right leg in and holding on at the knee. And if it works for you, you can straighten out that other leg. Just notice, maybe that works, maybe not so well. So it can be bent if it needs to be. And then tucking your chin, draw nose to knee. And then inhaling, press the shin up into the hands and relax and release. Tuck chin, nose to knee. Again, press up, release. One more time, nose to knee. Hands underneath that leg, let that thigh reach all the way up towards the sky. Flex your foot. Maybe as the arms come up the leg, if you want a little more, you tuck the chin, nose comes towards knee. And the upper body comes down. Hands out to the side, slowly bring that leg to the mat. Stay here and just scan the body, noticing the length of that leg, the way the feet are connected, the calves, the thighs, the hips, the curve of the lower back on the left side and the right side, the way the middle back and shoulder blades connect. Notice the sensations in the arms, upper arms, forearms, and hands. Notice the distance shoulder to ear. And as you're ready, We'll go to the other side. So just draw that left leg in, and again, maybe this right leg is bent. That's okay. Maybe it's straight. Exhaling, nose to knee. Release. And then as you inhale, press the shin up into the hands and release. Tucking chin, nose to knee. Again, pressing up. One more time, nose to knee. And release, leg pressing up. Hands behind the thigh, lift that foot all the way up to the sky. Stay there. Maybe you want more. And the hands come up and you tuck your chin and the nose comes towards the leg. And again, no struggle. You know, I'm significantly tighter on this side. There might be one leg that responds very differently than the other. That's okay. And as you're ready, the upper body comes down. Arms to the side, slowly, slowly, slowly bringing that leg down to the mat. And one more time, just scan the body, noticing how quickly the other side has started to return to its normal. Noticing the length and the way that this side of the body is now connected. Calves, thighs, hips. The curve of the lower back, the connection of the middle back and the shoulder blades. The way that the arms have settled. Noticing sensations on both sides of the neck and distance from shoulder to ear. Go ahead and bend your knees, bring both legs in and gently roll side to side. And feet to the mat. Go ahead and extend the legs long again. And again, if you need to put maybe something underneath the knees for a little bit of comfort, that's okay. A little back release. Palms reach up as high as you can. Let the shoulders thump down, keeping the arms strong and long. And do that twice more. And then turn the palms towards your feet. And keeping the shoulder blades in place, begin to take the hands back down behind you, reaching as long as you can. And adjust according to your body. So most of us won't be straight back with our entire arm connected, right? But try to keep those shoulder blades anchored. Maybe the arms come out a little bit to the side. Maybe the elbows need to bend. Maybe one side is very different than the other. And closing your eyes, find breath. And take 2 more deep breaths here. As you're ready, hold on to both of your forearms and stay here. And notice which arm is on top and how that feels. And are your fingers touching your elbows, or are your hands kind of in the middle of that forearm? Just noticing. And switch so that the other arm is on top. And just notice how that feels. And stay there for a breath. And then engage the abdominals and gently bring those arms up over your chest. And begin to gently just rock side to side. Just bringing the arms over to the side, back and forth. Maybe you find a neck release as you look in the opposite direction of the elbows. As you're ready, come back to center and switch those arms again, the other arm on top. And start the other direction first and just notice, is there a difference in range of motion? Is there a difference in sensation? Maybe the head turns and looks in the opposite direction. And as you're ready, meet me back at center. Go ahead and let's take your arms all the way out to the side. Bring that left arm across and give yourself a hug, holding onto your rib cage underneath that right arm. And then wrap that right arm on top of the left. Give yourself a hug here and gently let the elbows come away from the body. And find as much length in the neck as you can. And find your breath. And maybe you stay here, or maybe you begin to walk your fingers out a little bit more. Just, fingertip by fingertip. Stay here for 2 more breaths. Gently bring the arms out to the side and switch. So now start with that right arm reaching across and around the ribcage underneath that other arm, and the left arm on top. And start with the hug, and can you connect the shoulder blades? And find breath. And maybe you want just a little more, and those fingers emerge. And just walk out a little bit away from the body. And find the stretch and stay there for 3 breaths. And as you're ready, slowly unwind the arms and bring them out to the side in a capital T. And just stay there. And notice the way the body has connected to the mat. Bring the arms up one more time towards the ceiling. Reach as high as you can. Let those shoulders thump down. 2 more times here. And let the hands come down to the side. We're going to stay in Shavasana now. So if you need to put a blanket over you or put a sweater on, or if you need to do something to make yourself more comfortable, a blanket underneath your knees, go ahead and do that. And rotate palms out. And stay there in Shavasana. Breathing in, breathing out, and connect to your breath. Begin to feel the breath moving into the lungs, the rib cage, the diaphragm. And draw the belly in and soften the rib cage and empty the lungs. And smooth the breath out so that you find a breath with no beginning and no end. I'm going to read you the poem again. As you start to ascend, you feel the force of heavy winds. And for the first time, you wonder if you should go up, turn around, and go back down the mountain and find a smaller hill to climb. This is a broken place, and you are treading on splintered ground, trying to make sense of your progress and where you thought you'd be by now. And what was familiar is now too distant, and what was unknown is now too close. And you are wondering what to keep and what to just let go. But now that you're here, let it be. Slow down and let it be. Find new rhythms in the silence to cling to lasting peace. Knowing well within your soul you will have the strength you need to make it through these unknowns. Begin to notice where you are on the mountain. As you look up, notice the places that the fog wraps around the mountain. The places of absolute clarity. Notice the sun and the shade. Where are you on the mountain? Feel Jesus at your side, offering to take your pack. You surrender it, noticing a lightness of being. He asks whether you want to continue the journey. And you say yes. He is there as your guide in the fog, on the rocks, and on the uncluttered winding path. You find that the journey isn't hard when you're not alone. There is joy. And there is peace. Gently bring yourself back to this time and this place. Reconnect with your breath, noticing the way the body moves with breath. And notice the way that you have settled into the mat. Gently begin to bring movement back. Wiggle fingers and toes, rotate wrists and ankles. Turn your head side to side. On that next inhale, let those arms rise up and overhead and just stretch as long as you can. Right fingertips and left toes, left fingertips and right toes. And then draw your knees in and gently roll over onto one side. Support your head with your arm and take 3 full breaths here. As you're ready, press into your hands, rise up and come up to a sitting position, finding your sitting bones. Checking in, body, mind, and soul. What has changed since you started your practice today? What has stayed the same? Accepting it as it is. On that next inhale, let the arms rise up and overhead, hands to prayer, drawing the hands down to your heart, bowing your head. Holy God, we thank you that you equip us for everything we need as we go up the mountain. We thank you for the moments of absolute assurance and glory, for those moments of thunder and power when we are in complete union with you, those moments of supernatural peace, even in the midst of incredible hardship. We thank you that you journey with us, that your Spirit always guides us, keeps us on the path that you have for us, and opens us up to new possibilities. God, as we leave our mats today, help us to guide others, that they may know the love that you have for them and experience those moments of glory for themselves. It is in the name of Jesus the Christ that we pray. Amen. Thank you for sharing your time with me today.